Today's episode is brought to you by the Sounds in Cinema podcast. The Everything Sequel podcast contains explicit language. You have been forewarned. Pleased to wrap it up. Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions. Say hi to the good people, Tom.
Rule number 1, never get involved with a patient. Nurses, that's another story, but patient's no good. It never works out. Pop quiz, hotshot. Halloween 2 or Halloween Ends?
Halloween 2.
Okay. But you see my point.
Yeah.
It could legitimately be from either, and that's a problem.
Yeah, you can't slip him past me.
Oh.
What's his name? Bud?
Yeah. Well, I also had to cut out listen to Bud in that line. So you wouldn't. So it would pose a challenge. Because otherwise that's like, that's a little bit of a giveaway.
I'm not sure what that says about me that I know so well.
Yeah.
Including
I was going to say
name.
It's like going, my name is Bond, James Bond, but you wouldn't know which movie it was because he says that in every single movie.
Yes, of course.
So that's the worst possible example I could come up with, but the only one that came to my mind.
Well, here we are. We're not done with this series quite yet.
Never, apparently. Never done.
We're double dipping today. A couple of episodes. You get a little pitch, you get a little wrap up.
Double dipping is the perfect term because there's
so many of these.
There's two interpretations of what that is, and one is delightful and one is disgusting. One is delightful and one is disgusting. And this is a series that runs the gamut from.
And this
delightful
series has
to
both.
disgusting.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
That's why it's absolutely perfect. No, I mean we will conceivably never be done with Halloween, even after recording the last episode, which I thought was going to be our last. I forgot that we decided to do this episode, and I also forgot that in our future is Halloween 2012.
Correct.
I mean Halloween 2. Is that when that film was made? Yes. It's not called Halloween 2012. Halloween 2
but I knew it.
Made in 2012.
I knew what you meant.
I know, but I've shipped together two timelines, right? With that one error.
Yes, exactly.
Because that's
your nightmare. Your nightmare is going to become complete at some point. You will have to tackle a Rob Zombie movie.
And it's interesting. You talk about my nightmare, and it's interesting because you correctly speculated that I was trying to offset these last 5 Halloween movies for as long as possible.
Sure.
But also I think that makes sense to do it that way. Like there is a real bifurcation of the series.
No, yeah, I agree.
From from the the classic and modern era, from the good to the bad.
Well, for instance, I feel because it's just so long, we might have to do the same with the Friday the 13th series.
Definitely.
But it won't be as easy in that series as it was with this series.
No. Those movies kind of just they just keep making them, right?
They just keep going.
They just keep going. It's like one every year up until a certain point. Whereas Halloween has taken some long breaks, but it's always come back, and we can only assume will again. I mean, we both saw Blumhouse. Put in Michael Myers in their logo.
Take credit for Michael Myers forever.
Those don't sound like the actions of a film company that's done with Michael Myers.
Right. So, what are we doing here? Obviously,
it's a really good question. I wish I had a better answer for you. First, well, I mean, primarily we can talk about whatever in terms of business.
And we will.
We will talk in terms of business. All we have to talk about is re-ranking and
a full series ranking.
Yes,
right.
That's what we're here to do primarily. We might take a few tangents along the way.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise.
Well, and I guess that's my first thought is, will there be any surprises?
Um,
With the exception of one movie and where it lands in our overall list,
yeah.
I think we're fairly close. At least we have been both in last year and this year in terms of our ranking.
Yes.
We were really close. We had some switch ups last year.
But will our personal rankings change? I think that's the bigger question. In light of 5 more movies,
yes.
Will that make us reevaluate what we've already seen?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'll tease you by saying, the top, now that we've added 5 films, the top and the bottom are new for me.
Okay.
So it has made a difference on both ends of the list.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't expect any changes between good or bad. I don't think.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to stand pat on that, I think.
But I think that there are a couple of close calls as well.
That's the one thing for me is that there's in particular towards the top of the list.
Yeah.
There are, I came in kind of knowing what I wanted to do, but unsure if I was right.
And I think, while there is a definite split between the first 5 and the last 5, in a lot of ways, and, I'm sure we'll talk about it as we go. I feel like there's like 2 movies where the quality kind of overlaps.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm struggling to know what to do with that.
Okay.
And I'm still not quite decided. So this might be more exciting than it sounds on paper.
Than originally advertised.
Yes. It might now with 2 other things.
And then
C-3PO and Alf spinning heads.
Then I'm sure. Like you said, we'll go off on maybe a few tangents here and there, talk about the series generally.
Yeah.
How does it stand up
Yeah.
against other series, maybe.
With potentially only one more episode where we can talk about Halloween, so this might be a good time for any unfinished business, anything that we ever wanted to say about the franchise, because I have a feeling that once we get to Halloween, I nearly did it again, Halloween 2, the Rob Zombie version, we'll be talking more about him than the franchise.
True, I agree.
Because,
well, his film...
That's why
his film begs us to do that.
Just as I imagine if I never will, if I watch the Netflix The Munsters, I'd have much more to say about Rob Zombie's interpretation of the Munsters than the Munsters.
Than the classic, TV show.
I've seen one screenshot of that, and it's like, what's wrong with this picture? You know what I mean? It's like, it's just sort of like, it's almost like a competition.
Are you upset it's not in black and white?
No, I'm just, they have no obligation to do that. I mean, the Addams Family films didn't.
Right.
But, they had a competent director and also a professional director.
A professional, yeah.
So,
a real professional.
They got Barry Sonnenfeld behind them.
Barry Sonnenfeld is no slouch.
Right. He knows how to do visual style.
Yeah, because he was a DP first.
And he knows...
For the Coen brothers, I might add.
Yeah, and he knows how to go beyond visual style.
Agreed.
Into filmmaking.
Fuck.
Have I tipped my hand enough? As to how I feel about Halloween 2.
So I guess we'll announce now at some point, not next, but at some point in the near future, look forward to the 2012 single sequels.
Right, yeah. I mean, we were going to do it at some point, right? Because it's a sequel, we've got to tackle it.
Yeah.
But it's a sequel to a reboot, so it needs to be treated... A single sequel to a reboot, so it needs to be treated differently
from the canon of the series, yeah.
And maybe one day we'll start doing reboots, who knows?
Perhaps.
Because that's technically a sequel.
Mm-hmm. We have a category in the How Dare You Awards.
Yeah,
at least successful reboot or remake.
Yeah, there we go.
Maybe that's what we could do episodes for that if we start our Pantheon. Pantheon? What is it? Patreon.
Yes.
Pantheon. Patreon.
We'll do Halloween 2012 on the Pantheon.
All right. Now,
I love the idea that people like try to sign up for our Patreon. It's like, no, they kept saying Pantheon, and that doesn't appear to exist.
I kept going to the Pantheon.
So now
I couldn't find them anywhere.
So online scammers, now's your time to do Pantheon.com and steal the personal details of a number of people trying to subscribe to our Patreon.
Oh, goodness gracious. All right, Tom, now, before we start with any kind of ranking, is there anything you want to throw out there first, generally, about the Halloween series? I mean, for instance...
I love how you asked that question. You might as well have asked that question to yourself, because you're about to give me an answer.
Well, I mean, do you give a thumbs up or a thumb down to the series as a whole? How do you regard this series?
Oh, it's still very much thumbs up.
Yeah, me too.
It would take it's kind of a little bit how I feel about The Simpsons.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like I am not. There's almost an infinite number of below par seasons that they will have to do before it will stop being one of the greatest TV shows of all time.
Sure.
Like, I don't know what that point will be. It's closer than I ever thought it would be, but nonetheless.
Yeah.
And I kind of like it's like even and what I consider to be an entirely redundant trilogy has still not soured me on the idea that Halloween is one of the quintessential horror series, and you know you'd and that's it withstood Halloween Kills for me, which is
right, yeah. Which is saying something.
Which is saying, look back 2 episodes, and if we're not soured on it now, I don't think we ever will be. That's assuming that hasn't soured. I mean, you've sounded very despondent in the last couple of episodes. Listening back, I was a little worried. I was a little worried for you because you have far more invested in Halloween than me.
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved the series, and these last 2 movies, I don't know how to describe it. It's like hitting rock bottom, I suppose, as an alcoholic, or that's as bad as it can get.
Yeah, well, Halloween Kills is the rock bottom, and then.
But I'd love to get sober and have them make one of our pitches.
Right, but then Halloween Ends is kind of like the fever dream you have when you're sobering up.
Yes, right.
When you're going through withdrawal.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It gets you where you need to be, but it's not a fun process.
But it's not easy. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you completely. It's still a thumbs up for me. It is. Like you said, I think it's one of it's a hallowed and important series within cinema and the horror genre.
Definitely.
And I don't think that can be really argued against.
Despite
despite being an uneven series and having plenty of missteps, even I'll say that 3 of the biggest perceived missteps in the series, say with 5, 6, and Resurrection,
right.
I think are still far more enjoyable and worthy of watching, every Halloween than most other bad series bads.
And I look back at my notes for those movies, and something I was struck by that was, regardless of the quality of the film, that they always had good performances.
Yeah.
Good set pieces scattered throughout them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the biggest difference that I've noticed is that, that the redeeming qualities, bad films with a lot of redeeming qualities versus, bad films that don't know how to sort of like ameliorate that in any meaningful way. But, the what do you say, 5, 6 and Resurrection?
Yeah.
They extremely watchable.
Well,
And a
5
lot of,
curse and resurrection, I guess we should be saying.
yes. So I think there is a difference in the kind of bad filmmaking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's funny because I was thinking about this just the other day because we just finished with Halloween Kills Halloween Ends. And we were kind of, you had brilliantly had said at the beginning of the episode, "Oh, I'm glad we're not going with the broad characterizations anymore."
Yeah, exactly.
Because of course that movie's replete with it, and I was thinking about the mother character for Corey and how broadly drawn that character is. And then I was thinking about the dad in Halloween 5.
6.
And you could... Oh, 6.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. In 6. And I was thinking, you could argue that that character's just as broad, but why does that character work? What is going on?
Yeah.
Is it just the actor? Is it partly because the mom is being played for comedy at certain points?
Yeah.
But everything she's doing is fundamentally not comedic, being abusive towards a child.
Well,
so, it's interesting to me, the idea that 2 movies that at least we're looking at as not necessarily one of them as a huge failure, but on the lesser end of I'm sure our ranking, but one has a fundamental performance that works.
Yeah, I mean, it's
one doesn't.
And the movies, the perceived missteps, and that's a really good way of putting it, of the series prior to this current trilogy. They always flirted with competence, right? There was always
right.
Even, and 5 especially is so strange in so many ways. It was fun to look back at my notes and see he turned the camera around upside down for no reason. Why is this happening?
Why is that happening?
And yet, there are these bursts of competence that keep coming, and when you sit down to Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, it's kind of once you start along that road, you can't go back.
Yeah, because I can remember giving Halloween 5 a lot of shit, and its director a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And now.
But then Laundry Chute.
Yeah,
Danielle Harris.
Exactly, right.
Donald Pleasance. Doing great
good work.
If left field work.
And
but
the Laundry Chute idea is a perfect example.
Yeah.
It's a perfect example of, a great set piece with really good filmmaking.
Yeah.
And there's, when I look at Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, man, I'm struggling.
Really, it's pretty poor filmmaking.
I'm just
really
struggling to stick up for that director, for David Gordon Green. It's
It looks very. I mean, it's unfair. It's unfair to do this because he's not at all involved, even though he's had previous associations with these filmmakers. But it's almost like you can hear Seth Rogen's high laugh in the background of some of the shots.
Right.
That sort of like scenes conceived and filmed on weed.
Yeah.
By people who have had no formal filmmaking training.
All right. Any other thoughts?
Well, there was a couple of items that I didn't get to say, which I from this part of the series I really wanted to mention, and just because I was really kicking myself that I didn't realize it straight away. But in Halloween Ends, there's a shot where Carl Richards Lindsay pulls away the mother of the child who's killed in the opening scene from she's going to attack Corey. We all agreed this scene
at the bar
should never happen. Wouldn't ever happen. And there was something about that shot that made me think it had more significance than I originally thought. And then I realized they're going for a replica of the Real Housewives meme where Carl Richards is dragging away oh, I can't remember who it is now. It's not Camille
Well,
Grammer, but
you would know. You're the fan.
another housewife. But it's a famous,
As revealed on our show.
it's a famous meme in the panel. It's Carl Richards dragging away another housewife, and then there's a cat on the table looking up from a table on the other one, and it's usually accompanied by two different interpretations of the same word. But it's I've looked at the meme since, and it's exactly the same shot. They frame it in exactly the same way. So there's a
that
little...
actually actively makes me angry.
So there's a little nod to
just the fact that they're
Real
going for that.
Housewives lore.
Oh man,
Real Housewives internet lore in that shot. And on a slightly more positive note,
all right, slightly.
We talked a lot about Busta Rhymes' verbal diarrhea in in Halloween Resurrection. And again, like I was aside from his own rapping, I was trying to think about what does this flow of speech remind me of? And there's a character in Family Guy, recurring character called Floyd Weatherton, who's a brain damaged boxer who you see as commentating on boxing matches. And the shtick is he can't string together a sentence. So you can look up the best of Floyd Weatherton on YouTube. You tell me that is not the cadence of and word choice of Busta Rhymes.
Wow.
So there you go. There's a couple of Easter eggs there for you.
Couple of gems.
Well, I hope so. But yeah, I didn't want to temporarily leave Halloween without mentioning that.
Alrighty. So that leaves us. It's time to rank.
Yeah.
As you reflect back on the entire series, I think it's interesting to sort of note, what it is we value the most, and so
sure.
What is at the top of your list?
Well, it's Halloween 2.
Is it?
Yeah, finally.
Okay. Wow.
Because, seeing multiple attempts to remake that film made me realize quite what an achievement the original is.
Mm-hmm.
In a way that I'd never considered before.
Right.
It's that story is a really hard one to tell.
Yeah.
Full of pitfalls, some of which Halloween 2 does actually fall into. But even with those pitfalls, it comes out on top as a really strong film overall.
But it's an aftermath movie.
Yeah.
That I think gets the idea of an aftermath movie pretty good.
As well as you can, whilst, you
know,
but then there are moments that make you think probably sequels should go beyond this at some point. Should get beyond this style of filmmaking.
But that's not this movie's fault. That's not this movie's fault.
No, it makes the best of a bad job, and it's just interesting to me that we don't know. At this point, John Carpenter is kind of along for the ride since the 2018 relaunch. I mean, I know he was somewhat involved in that. I don't know how much he's involved in Kill or Ends. But they're certainly, paying lip service to his canon. We saw, Christine is a big part of the thing. But, it's sort of interesting to me that, he gives himself a lot of shit for the screenplay for Halloween 2, but there's nothing in there that is even close to the kind of clunky, reverse engineered storytelling that those three scripts have.
The worst there is the cat.
The cat?
The cat jumping out at the security guard.
I did notice that, but and again in I have a great affection for the things that don't work in Halloween 2. And that's what I also realized going back over my notes. It's like, God, that sounds like a lot of fun. Remember when fun was a part of Halloween?
Yeah, right. Well, it's funny. Because like I said, at the top of my list, there was a real wrestling. Last year, I listed Halloween 4 at the top of my list.
Yeah.
And...
if you've gone with Halloween 3, this series has done some real damage to our brains.
So I did not go to Halloween 3.
The series has
But-
done a number on us if that happened.
Oh, man.
Can you imagine?
you know.
Matt would never speak to you again.
I know. Matt was so angry that I had changed my mind on Halloween 3 at all
Mm-hmm.
and given it so much more credit when I watched it under the guise of these movies and, you know, watching them in terms of how they fit into the Halloween franchise. But what I was going to say was that, like you, Halloween 2 really raised itself as a piece of filmmaking and a piece of writing, and in every which way for me, having watched all these movies that, and maybe it's probably just my being stubborn. It's probably my OCD kind of nature to stick with what I really love, and what I do really love is Halloween 4, and that is still at the top of my list. But I got to tell you, Halloween 2 was so close.
And I think at the time I talked about how that is definitely much more of a consistently good film, and yet I don't think it ever reaches the heights of when Halloween 2 is good. I think it's better than anything in Halloween 4.
Yeah, you might be right. I think I just have always so appreciated
I mean, I don't want to relitigate that. It's just, you know,
yeah, right.
That's where I'm coming from. Which is,
and I probably can't even disagree with that. I think I obviously, as always, we talk about big swings, but that movie has one of the biggest swings possible with its ending. And having waited 10 years for Michael Myers to come back and then produce that ending, I respect on such a grand level that it raises that movie. I mean, slightly
top to bottom a better movie, but there's nothing like...
Which is to say nothing of the fact that there's a third movie that I really, really like that, you know, comes in right underneath those, So
you've got your Halloween.
I'm officially
4.
I have 4 at the top and 2 right below that, and 2 is my second.
Okay, then. Well, Halloween 3 is my second.
Okay.
I mean, there's not really any reason.
No surprise there.
No, but it was on. You know, it was on top, and it's got nothing. That's no reflection on. You know. It's.
Now wait a second.
It's like Tom Hagen because how you know there's no. It's no reflection on Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. It's just not a wartime consigliere, you know?
There you go. But in your original ranking, you had 2 at the top, didn't you?
No, 3.
Are you really?
I'm 100% sure.
Okay. Oh, yeah. All right, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not mad. I know. I don't know what else I have to do to convince you. But, yeah, I mean, it's again, you know, it's a movie that I have really strong feelings for.
Yeah, I mean,
but
that's your deathbed movie.
But also his
I'd like a really good meal, and I'd like to watch Halloween 3, please.
And I can watch it for free now. The other night I was really tempted, and then I thought, no, what are you doing? Look at all the media that's out there.
I got a little surprise for you. I turned it on the other night, watched about the first 10 minutes.
It hasn't been free for so long.
But it was so late at night that I thought, don't start this. Just
your favorite part with the Harry Grimbridge part. Your favorite character in the movie.
Yeah, I want.
In that you remembered his name and pitched a sequel about it.
I said I want to end a movie with the beginning of this movie.
That's right. So, but you know, and again, sort of, it gets better seeing alternate versions of Halloween 3. You know, the Halloween Ends has that job of do we go down an anthology route or do we continue the Michael Myers story, and it decided to do neither and both. So there is a lot to be said for just drawing a line
Yeah.
under the ongoing story and doing your own thing, and that movie's a real testament to
I
that.
agree with you that there's a lot to be said for that movie having done that and the series going in that direction. I think I have a love for Michael Myers like we care about Sylvester Stallone. so
Sure.
so I gravitate towards the Michael Myers stories.
But
Those
and there's
those are the
another
most
analogy
important
to Sylvester
things.
Stallone, because Creed 3 is going to be Sans Stallone.
Yeah, right.
And that's so it's exactly the same dilemma. You
Mm-hmm.
go in, like, Creed 3 is basically, it is not Rocky. There's no um there's no more umbilical cord.
Yeah, the series has cut the umbilical cord from
Yeah.
the
And good
titular
things,
character.
and it's movies like Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, that made me think good things can come from cutting the cord like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to get you have to get very inventive. You have to sort of embrace the weird
Yeah,
and
right.
the offbeat and the left field. And that's what
And
I love
that
about this film.
right. And so watching all those front half Halloweens together last year, that really struck me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, watching it in isolation with just the 1982 sequels, I was so much more apt to see what's wrong with the movie and the characters we're following, but seeing it within the framework of horror generally,
Mm.
John Carpenter's movie specifically, and then the Halloween series
And
within its framing
I still
made
think,
it a far more interesting movie.
and we talked a little bit this on the last episode, whether Halloween has a future in TV,
Mm-hmm.
because it's the only one that hasn't made that jump yet.
Yeah.
Of the big three franchises, the big four if you include Chucky. Um, I guess Texas Chainsaw hasn't. But
Right.
Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. I mean, we don't really make anthology television anymore, except
Mm-hmm.
through the back door. It's interesting. Like,
I mean, you have Creep Show, but
yeah, I just like. I mean, but Halloween 3 is the perfect template for how you continue to make one-off stories about Halloween.
Sure.
Within an
Oh, yeah.
anthology mode. I mean, you 12 of those, I'd be in Hog's Heaven. 12th season of The Witches, I'd be in
Right.
like a year. I'd be in
I mean,
Hog's
and
Heaven, but it ain't gonna happen. But
it's funny though because it should.
it absolutely should. And Halloween is weirdly, I think, because we mentioned that Friday the 13th and Nightmare were both anthology series, and they both failed largely because people were
Right.
like, "This doesn't have anything to do with
Sure.
what we like." But I think because there is precedent within the Halloween series for anthology diversions, I think it could actually work. I mean, no streaming service is ever going to go for it.
I'm also kind of delightfully having a flash of, one of the reasons is it's very easy to put Freddy Krueger at the beginning of an episode of an anthology series and have him introduce it.
Yeah.
Because he's naturally got some comedy chops and that kind of
Right.
thing. But I'm having a flash of like a completely silent Michael Myers just
Yeah.
sort of pointing to a character, or I don't know exactly what you'd have to come up with some jokes of a silent Michael Myers introducing something.
Yes,
But
you would.
that to me would be that would to me would be worthwhile and kind of fun.
Yeah, it'd be a difficult pitch, wouldn't it? It'll be a
Yeah.
difficult pitch feeling. So your narrator is silent. Yes.
That's correct.
Imagine Rod Serling, but he's not saying anything.
At all, ever.
I'd say that kind of works for me too.
All right. Well, I have learned to appreciate Halloween 3 far more than I ever thought I would.
Yeah.
But it is not third on my list. Third on my list is Halloween
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. And again, I think that's around about where it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a really it's a really solid movie, and this occurred to me the other day. Like, despite all the screamisms in that film,
Sure.
it doesn't feel hollow in the way that the most
Right.
recent trilogy has when it plays with metatextual imagery.
Yeah.
It actually there's still a very genuine thriller
Yeah.
that comes out of it, and that's like maybe that's the difference. And
Maybe that's the trick. Right.
yeah, it's like it's sort of like being.
Well,
I think
because
we're still in a
Halloween
period where being
H2O.
metatextual isn't because you don't have a lack of content.
Right.
Because they had a core of a really great approach to the Halloween film, and along the way, that they had a producer
Mm-hmm.
who was interested in kind of metatextual stuff. It was it was also a celebration of Halloween.
Right.
It was an anniversary film, so there was that kind of metatextuality in there. But to me, it never contaminated the film in any
Right. It doesn't
meaningful way.
infect
It was
it.
just an additional pleasure of it
Yeah.
that didn't harm the structure of the film and the way the story's
And
being
well, that's
told.
what I was gonna say. It doesn't fuck with the structure of the Halloween film really at all.
No,
It's a veneer. It kind of
and it's
this.
interesting. It's interesting the stuff with
Yeah,
the
I mean,
stuff with
that's just where horror movies were at that time. So it's the look of the film more than
I think
anything
we
else, but it's not
misremember
the
that a little
content.
bit. I think we misremember that period a little bit. I'm
Mm-hmm.
starting to get that. It's like that's when horror films became metatextual for a while. It's like, yeah, but they were still written by people who were competent storytellers.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's a completely different metatextuality
Yeah.
than the Scream movies themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's
It's saying it without yelling it, really. When you
Yeah.
have the Jason hockey mask
yes.
but that kid plays hockey.
Yeah,
He's a hockey player.
yeah.
So it's not
It's just
not
sort of
there.
it's just and again it's just sort of playing with your expectations a little bit,
Right,
and
yeah.
recognizing because the series
And
has
in
gone
that
on
way
for
it's fun. In that
Yeah.
way it's not it's cute without trying to be too cute. It's
for sure.
interesting without trying to be interesting in a all capital letters kind of way.
Yeah, I think when a series is because this is the 20-year anniversary of the original Halloween, and when a franchise has been going for that long, you have an established formula. There are certain tropes, there are certain rules,
Mm-hmm.
and I think this film was really good at sort of negotiating what viewers were bringing to it in terms of expectations and playing around with them a little bit in a sort of fun, knowing way.
Mm-hmm.
But knew when to draw the line and actually say, no, well, this is still a Halloween film, and we've still got to deliver.
Mm-hmm.
We can't get cute and we can't get precious about it.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge difference. And again, just that sort of it is very middle of the road in terms of its storytelling, but that kind of balance is sorely lacking in the later films. So I think
Right.
it comes across more
So
strongly than it would have done at the time.
it comes across as so much more professional.
Yeah, professional, and again, it's beyond flirting with competence. It's not one of the flirting with competence. It is an extremely competently made film.
Yeah.
To me, it's behind Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, but I definitely think of them in the same bracket of.
So does that
the
mean
same
that
lead
Halloween? Does that mean that Halloween 4 is third on
yeah.
your list?
Yeah.
Okay.
So nothing's changed there. But yeah, H2O right behind it. I think they're cut from the same cloth. They're really solidly crafted films. That's I think you could look at their screenplays and think they're really well constructed, really well told stories.
Right.
and that's what I admire about them. But I think Halloween 4 is a little bit more successful overall.
Well, and I'm going to throw you the bone you've probably been waiting so long to hear, because next on my list will be Halloween 3.
Right.
Season of the Witch. So that's 4th on my list.
All right.
I have so come around to a movie that's different, odd, weird,
Yeah.
delightfully so. But like you said, I mean, if you're going to do an anthology, this is how you do it. Like,
Yeah.
this is it's not following a traditional hero. We've said plenty about Dr. Daniel Chalice, and he is a despicable person,
Yeah.
but I have grown to love him as an interesting character.
That is it. That is it. That was what Halloween Ends confirmed to me.
Yeah.
Is that it's not about what Chalice represents. It's about taking him. It's like that great quote. I think it's Richard Dyer who said, the film critic, who said, everyone thinks Fatal Attraction is a movie about AIDS. Why can't it just be a movie about two people?
Yeah, right.
And that's how I feel about Dr. Daniel Chalice. It's like, yeah, there's what he represents politically, in the terms of gender politics and parenthood and all those paradigms. But he and largely because of Tom Atkins as well, he's just completely unique and idiosyncratic.
Yeah, right.
You do not get you can sort of fit him into the sloppy hero mold, but as we've discussed, he doesn't even reach that level.
Yeah, right.
He's got his own thing going on.
Right.
And it's wonderful to behold, largely because Tom Atkins knows how to play him in a way that is incredibly winning. And
well, it helps to have a winning actor play your not winning character.
And Halloween Ends just wants to prove a point that they're better than a movie made in 1982, which, as you said on previous episodes, is nothing
incorrect.
Nothing to write home about.
Right. Yes. Well, and so I don't know. Is this where it gets weird?
Well, let's see what your next one is.
I'm struggling, Tom. I don't know what to even say.
Oh, really? Well, I'm pretty clear on what my next one is, but you're not going to like it.
5.
Huh?
5.
Yeah.
Okay. if your assumption is I'm not going to like it, then it has to be 5.
Right. It's
I mean,
one of the most watchably bad movies I can think of.
I don't disagree.
I can put it on after 4, knowing full well it's not good or in any way connected to 4. But
right.
To me, it feels like to me it's just like buttering the bread to the end of the to the end of the slice. It's just like that's where the knife goes and the butter goes all the way. And it's like that's probably end up with too much butter, but I'm not leaving this butter unbuttered. You're not leaving this bread unbuttered. That's what it feels like to me. It's just like it goes down so easy. Yeah, anyway.
I mean, where I find myself is struggling with what I thought about 5 and Curse.
Yeah.
How I regarded Resurrection, and where 2018 lies within all of that.
Right. Oh, God, yeah.
So,
I forget. I forget that you would.
You forget that I like that movie
such
more
high
than
esteem,
you.
Yeah.
I know. So
it's like finding out that Halloween 2018 was a rapist all along. You know what I mean? It's like.
So, I mean, I really thought that 2018, even after talking about it with you, I thought it was going to land next for me. And it just doesn't.
Interesting. This movie's really fading in your appreciation.
I know, it really is, but I then I had to decide. I don't have 5 as high as you do.
Yeah, okay.
But what I was really struggling with was, how do I feel about 6 and Resurrection? Where do those land for me?
Yeah, me too.
Because I have to tell you, I have had such a renewed appreciation for Resurrection that I never thought I would have.
No.
And never thought it would deserve.
No.
But watch it,
nobody expects the Halloween Resurrection, yeah.
No, yeah. And
paraphrase Monty Python.
And of course, in our previous last part of this series, I put 2018 above Resurrection.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it made me think, well, what's it mean that I'm struggling to decide between Resurrection and 6? Oh, no, what's happening?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, and I think you probably remember this in our chats last year for, the reasons that I always have kind of gravitated toward Curse.
Yeah.
There's just something magically stupid about that movie.
But yeah, I mean,
that goes down even easier than 5 for me personally. I just think it's a cool drink of water.
Well, I mean, it
still has Donald Pleasance.
Yes.
It takes a weird left turn in storytelling that is nonsensical, but it's kind of delightful. There's just something really fun in the dumbness of that movie that I personally gravitate towards, and so Halloween Curse of Michael Myers was next on my list.
Here's what's just absolutely remarkable about this film and why it deserves that level of consideration.
Uh-huh.
It barely constitutes a film in any sense.
I know.
And yet you would never hesitate to sit down and watch it, and I think that says it all.
Yeah, that's what it was more than anything, was that, I mean, we both called it a bad film, but...
Sure. You've no choice. The movie leaves us with no choice.
It leaves you no choice, but like you just said, there is never a time where I wouldn't, if somebody said, hey, I'm watching this, I would go, oh, I'm good. I would sit down and watch it every single time.
There is compelling elements to it. And the fact that they can sort of rear their head above the parapets of this god-awful disaster is kind of unbelievable. Paul Rudd is really good, and looks even better post-Halloween Kills when you see how you can completely
fuck that up.
Botch Tommy Doyle as a character.
Mm-hmm.
You got Mitchell Ryan, you got the last breaths of Donald Pleasance.
last gasp.
Kara's really good. The dad is really good.
Exactly.
And you know what I have a renewed appreciation for post Halloween Ends. Barry Sims.
Yeah, right.
That was a shock jock DJ that worked. In retrospect.
Yes.
At the time I'm watching it going, don't do this. I don't want not Howard Stern
it's
shitting all over this movie. It's just a
product of the times.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want not Howard Stern shitting all over this movie.
Yeah, right.
But now I look at it and go, he sort of... There's not much that weaves this movie together.
Funny.
But this is it, right?
There are things with Resurrection and or rather with Curse and Resurrection that time has helped. So
Definitely.
when you look at Curse and you see the shock jock of Barry Sims, and all you're thinking is, well, you know exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to hook into what's the now. What do people care about? They care about Howard Stern. And it's the same with Resurrection.
Yeah.
What looks prophetic now and looks really dealt with, in an interesting, thoughtful manner now.
Yeah.
Looked like it was just glomming on at the time. Yeah. So I
mean, that's a reflection on us, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, Resurrection At the time it felt like Resurrection was saying, well, the big thing right now has all to do with the internet and with reality TV. So we're going to make a Halloween movie about that.
Yeah.
And so
well, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, I mean, but at that time, when you look at it at that time, that makes that movie feel a little hollow.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, 20 years later, it's far more interesting that they made that choice, and it bears out in a way that is far more interesting.
Yeah, they made a lot of...
You have to give the movie credit now.
Definitely. I mean, they guessed right
about
how the internet and reality television would continue to affect us as a culture.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't think you could have had a consciousness in the mid-90s of that Howard Stern would still be a pop cultural force in 2022.
Yeah.
Right? So
Right.
These two movies, I mean, you could either say got lucky or, speculated intelligently enough.
Mm-hmm.
And, within both I can't believe I'm saying this about either of these films. But within both of these films, and I think you said it perfectly, there's an interesting, thoughtful discussion of the issue that you're raising. The issue that you're raising might be a gimmick to bring in, to bring in audiences who, to feed into the zeitgeist. But in both those movies, you're sort of like, well, in Barry Sims, it's about the sensationalization of serial killer lore. And then Halloween Resurrection kind of does something similar, but uses the idea of reality television and internet culture. So I think it's a combination of that. They got lucky, certainly, but they were also thinking through the ramifications of what this moment in culture brought out.
Right.
So
at least that, yeah. I mean,
and that's why they're so hard in my mind to separate.
Right. Exactly. And it's hard for me to separate how much luck versus thought I give to it.
Right.
How much thought what there was behind it, how much of that was luck.
But I think you've convinced me that Curse is better than Halloween Resurrection.
Okay.
Very narrowly.
Yeah.
Well, actually not. Is it that narrowly? I mean, if you excise Busta Rhymes from Halloween Resurrection, no, that's very hard to do. It's hard to cut him out.
You're creating a wish list now.
Because he's so tied to every stage of the film. You wouldn't have a film left. But I think
Curse
it has a chance
better...
of succeeding without that anchor, without that sort of like monkey on its back.
Right.
It's sort of like I think it has a better chance of succeeding than Curse of Michael Myers, which fundamentally does not work as a narrative.
It doesn't work as a narrative, but it does work. It works better as a horror movie or / scary movie.
Yeah,
Resurrection's
right. You're right.
Not scary at all.
Oh, you're right. I'm gonna.
So.
Yeah, I think.
And it's not like Curse is the most terrifying, unsettling movie ever. But I think it's more. But I think it's more successful. It's certainly disturbing, but that has more to do with strange story choices than anything else.
But you can.
But you also do see a head explode.
But I think that's the great thing about the horror genre is you can kind of push bad taste a little bit.
Sure.
As long as you don't, collapse into...
I mean, look, that head exploding...
support of an insurrectionist minority in American society. That's where you need to draw the line. But
that's where the line has to be drawn.
You can push PC and bad taste a little further, and so I do think because it's all that.
What's funny specifically about that head exploding scene is that looks like dramatic art at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. So,
Well, and also, there's...
Give the movie a break.
And we talked about how Halloween Resurrection really lacks atmosphere.
Yeah.
Or at least it doesn't. You can't tell whether the atmosphere is real or fabricated, which is kind of the point, and it's interesting, but it affects the horror elements of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Curse, I think about it now, and even though I don't know how you get from point A to point B narratively, I do remember a lot of, being underground in tunnels, trapped behind fences.
Yeah,
lots
right.
of trying to break into rooms and candles and all these kind of this unsettling imagery.
Yeah, looking out the window and seeing Michael walking across the street towards you, not knowing where you can go, what you could do.
And I think Halloween Resurrection would die for that kind of atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's why it's better. But again, I don't want to knock Halloween Resurrection. I never thought it would be that close.
Yeah, and
that movie
really took off for me in my estimation. Having watched it for the purposes of the podcast, I was very surprised how much I took to it.
You're not going to agree with this, but because I think you have a lot less esteem for movies of that era, like blockbuster movies of that era. But there was, I don't know, in the early 2000s, even though the filmmaking wasn't always great, there was a level of thoughtfulness around blockbusters that I just don't see anymore. I don't know if Transformers just completely wiped it out.
Mm-hmm.
People were like, oh, we don't even need to ask intellectual questions anymore. Great. That was really.
Are you what thoughtfulness are you talking about? Just the idea of
what I see in T3, and just what I've also seen in Halloween Resurrections, and another movie I think of which is like I, Robot or something like that.
Yeah, right.
God, it's not terribly good, but I did. Afterwards, I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah,
and I feel like the Transformers franchise has just kind of got to a point now where it's like filmmakers are like, it doesn't seem to affect our box office whether we make
put anything thoughtful in it or not.
So let's not bother.
Yeah. All right. So now, where's that leave you? You left off at 5. Does that
5
mean
Curse, Halloween Resurrection? Yeah.
All right.
And what are you?
Oh God damn it!
Where are you putting 5 in all this?
Well, sorry, but I'm gonna stick to my guns.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 6.
And there are a lot of guns in Halloween 2018.
6, 2018, Resurrection, 5. You have a love for 5.
That's a cruel sandwich.
I know.
That's a shark sandwich.
Now, I think I admitted in our previous episodes, I know that 2018 is falling for me in how good it is every time I watch it. If I take everything away...
No, you didn't let me do that. I'm not going to let you do that. You won't let me take Busta Rhymes out of a film. I don't let you strip away the entirety of 2018.
I'm not taking anything out of the film, though. What I'm saying is, if I accept that only 78 came out, and then there's this story, and I hadn't seen all these other stories, it's a far better movie, certainly than the 2 movies that came after it, and I would say it's a better movie than Resurrection. Because I have seen all those movies, that's what makes it keep dropping in my estimation. But I think what I'm going to say that I like about it right now is that the atmosphere that we said is missing in Resurrection, I think it does have. And I think I'll say right now, it's still barely a better movie than Resurrection. And I just have never
Is it still a good movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to say good.
Okay. That was the only one I thought you
But
might change.
I'm this close to saying Resurrection is a good movie. No, I can't say that.
No.
That's crazy.
Mm-mm.
It's not.
It's
anyway.
Not. No.
It's just an interesting movie. But, you know, and then after Resurrection, I've got 5, and I should rewatch that. I don't know. It's just...
Oh, I think you'd like it less. I don't think rewatching is the issue. I think it's a matter of taste, isn't it? It's like 5 and 6 are just batshit crazy in their own ways, and I like this brand of
But I like the brand of batshit crazy in 6. Yeah.
That's literally all it is. I think.
And I think you're right. I think that's all it is.
We both appreciate that they're bad films that should be worse to watch
than they are.
They are. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I again, really, that the bottom of the list leaves me no choice but to put Halloween 2018 after Halloween Resurrection. There would be a huge gap for me in terms of my appreciation. I think
I get it. They're all closer to me.
Yeah. Than
the last 2 films.
And it's no surprise to anyone. 2018 is not in the mix for me at all.
Yeah,
but it's and then then I'm gonna go.
Are you sticking with Kills
at the very
then
bottom?
Ends, or rather Ends then Kills?
Ends then Kills. Yeah.
Yeah, I am too.
I don't know if I watched it the third time. I don't know quite how I'd feel. But
exactly.
That's never going to happen, so I'm just going to stick to my original opinion that after 2 films, not significantly better, but definitely not worse.
Yeah, I agree.
Than Kills. And Kills is an absolute abomination, and
it's just the worst kind of filmmaking for me. It's just a terrible, terrible movie. But I think that about both of them.
Yeah, I think Ends is a terrible... Don't get me wrong, Ends has nothing to redeem it particularly.
Yeah, right.
Aside from a decent music, which isn't... I mean, and I'm talking about pop songs that they put in the movie, so you can't even really consider it the score. That's it, really. There's no... It's a huge failure.
Yeah,
a monumental failure, and only a movie as bad as Halloween Kills
could beat it out for worst on the list.
Place,
yeah, and it's funny, we just released the Halloween Ends episode 5 days ago, and at that time I had mentioned. I think it was a $40 million opening weekend, and I think I was
going to mention this too. Yeah,
that number wouldn't be static, but what a precipitous drop, because it went to $8 million the weekend after, and that is a drop.
So obviously audiences do feel somewhat cheated in the way that we do.
I think audiences feel cheated. I cannot open up, say, a Yahoo without a story every day that says, David Gordon Green says, this is why I did this. Here's why Corey's in the film. Here's why. I mean, and
they explain way too much in.
Oh my goodness!
Way too much in interviews that should just be in the films.
Yeah,
they did this.
The explanation he said, we never thought that we were going to stick with just a Laurie Michael story. I mean, how boring would that be? We had to carry it on in some way, and I couldn't believe what I was reading.
It's like I agree with you. Why the fuck did you say you were doing a trilogy?
Yeah, right. And this is to say, what's funny is that, I mean, they never told us that they were going to do this.
No.
I can kind of understand maybe why they would make that choice, but when you put Laurie Strode back to back with Michael Myers on all of your posters, that's the story you're promising us. And I remember thinking, what if you had just a poster of just the kid's face with that scarecrow mask on?
Scarecrow mask.
And underneath it said, "Is evil contagious?" I would be confused. I would think, oh no. I would wonder what the fuck they're doing. But I think I would have liked the movie a little bit more had I had that warning.
Here's a weird anecdotal tangent, but it's what you just said made me think of it. A few years ago, I was moderating at a film festival, and there was an independent film, I can't remember the name of it sadly, that was doing the Q&A to, and they managed to get Octavia Spencer, is that a person? To be in like one scene, like literally like a minute of screen time.
Yeah.
And they revealed during the Q&A that they had a studio contract for releasing this movie conditional on the fact that Octavia Spencer was put as top billing, and the directors, who were brothers I think, just said, as we won't do it, that's dishonest. And of course this film never got like a wide release or even a release at all. And I just think it's like, you know, that level.
They had more character.
That level of nobility is is very, very admirable, but it just doesn't reflect industry realities. Which, and you know, I was at Universal Studios recently, and it was literally wallpapered with Michael Myers' Halloween Ends posters, and it was just his face or his body,
just him everywhere, right?
And there's a dishonesty about that. It's also, you know, it's deja vu really, because we're back to everything that went wrong with Halloween, with the marketing for Halloween 3, you know, which didn't make it clear it wasn't going to be about Michael Myers. It's sort of like, so,
and they did it again.
Nobody's learned anything.
Nobody learns any lessons.
Like, from the creative to the marketing team, everyone is falling for the same gambit again and again.
Yeah.
And the movies and the responses to them are suffering because of that. I mean, it's a weird time for a number of franchises at the moment, because, you know, the Bond films are going to have to reboot in some fashion. Yeah, right. We've got Halloween having to do that. Star Wars is in limbo, at least cinematically. So quite a number of big franchises are just sort of waiting.
Do you have a couple of attempts? Yeah, you have a couple of attempts with remakes of, you know, with Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street that produced not enough buzz to kind of go on.
That's true, yeah.
So they're in limbo. Yeah,
exactly. You know, there's still a I will talk about it next year, hopefully. But
exactly.
There's still you know, the 13th Friday the 13th movie is just literally waiting to be made, but no one knows what direction they can take it in, because they've tried literally every option to revive the franchise, and it's like, and so, I mean, this is a perfect opportunity to just abandon all of these franchises and just do original storytelling from now on. But I suspect that's not how it's going to go. As long as
that's not where Hollywood is at right now.
No, as long as there are a few examples of this working, like as long as there are one or two examples of this working, as long as Marvel is still, but I mean, the tide is turning, at least critically, on a lot of that.
Yeah.
But as long as there's like 1.5 examples of the Batman, I suppose. I mean, that was a big success.
Yeah, sure.
So, I don't know where Halloween goes from here, but I also don't know what franchises of that size are gonna do from now on, because they've literally all written themselves into a corner. That they can't get out of.
They can't seem to get out of. Right.
You've got Daniel Craig's James Bond
dead.
No, you've basically got a room with 3 doors, and in it, you know, like Daniel Craig's James Bond is in there, Rey Skywalker is in there, and now Michael Myers has just walked through the door, and it's like, where do we go now?
Shit!
It's like no, it just ends here. We don't know what.
Right. No, we're done. That's funny. Well,
Yeah.
I've spent the better part of the last couple days.
I thought you were going to say the last couple of years.
No. Well, I just been thinking about Halloween Ends for some reason, and I started thinking about how I could have made that front scene better.
The best scene in the film.
Yeah, and it's the best scene in the film, but but it's still inept.
It's there's still a lot.
It really made me mad.
There's still a lot to be
like
desired.
that knife, that stupid fucking knife.
The zucchini bread knife? Yeah, that's...
The zucchini bread knife?
I have more threatening looking knives in my kitchen drawer.
God damn it. All right. I mean, what? Anything left for you?
I don't think so, no.
Thoughts or feelings in regards to the Halloween series?
No, I think we've
talked about it so much.
we've come to the same impasse that the series has. It's like,
yeah,
we have no idea what's... God, I mean, I haven't even contemplated the possibility that within the run of the podcast there will be new Halloween films released and we're going to have to cover them.
Exactly. We'll have to do them. But
is
even
there another generation of Akkad out there? Because I feel like if there's not, that might give us a
reprieve.
Yeah.
Even I would be fine with several years off. If we didn't see another Halloween movie for 5 years, I'd be good.
Yeah, definitely. I will say, so here's, like, it's such an attractive property.
Yeah.
And a big part of, I mean, there's lots of reasons why, and I'm sure we've touched on all of them, or most of them.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, another one is just how clean that iconography of Michael Myers is. How simple the look. I mean, it lends itself so well to, like, a poster, or, I've seen Michael Myers spare tire covers and T-shirts. It just...
Right.
I mean, we're in the season of Halloween, so that's part responsible. But it does seem to be more of a go-to of people for the slasher image,
sure.
And I think that has really carried these last few films.
Mm-hmm.
Like people just wanting to see that mask, that that character, that knife again.
Yeah.
And the filmmakers have kind of exploited that generosity that we have
right.
to wanting to see that.
Yeah.
And I think literally giving us anything.
Yeah, I think
with anything around it.
I think I mentioned in our last episode that, or rather in the Halloween Ends episode, that I was in the movie theater with a group of people and hearing audible bewilderment from fans about what the fuck was happening in this movie,
it's really interesting. In my audience, which was 5:30 rather than 5, I don't know if that makes a difference. But the 5:30 crowd is really big distinction. There was just I just got an overall sense of people were like, like the Martin Scorsese's dad in Goodfellas. And that's that, it was as the credits rolled, it was like, there he is, there's Michael, he's gone again,
Right.
I heard some people sort of be like, there he goes, he's off again, and it's just like,
yeah, it wasn't
it's really
the round...
just about, it's like we're trying to really just sort of,
yeah, it was not the round of cheering that I heard when I saw Halloween H2O, when his head got lopped off,
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Because that's the same scene.
Yeah.
Essentially. Yeah, there was no one, Michael was getting pulled. Nobody was like... was neither happy nor sad. They were just like...
Yeah, exactly.
This is how it ends, Yeah. They called it Halloween Ends and this is it ending, so...
well, and the movie lets you know.
Yeah, I was like... and then he's like, oh, it's dark outside. Oh, shit. It went dark when I hate that. You see a bad movie and it goes dark. While it's like, oh great, I literally wasted. I
wasted a whole day.
I literally wasted the last chance I have to have the day. And there were so many. I didn't tell you about this, but there were so many bad omens. When I went to see, I'm not a believer in that kind of thing, but even I had to sort of like raise an eyebrow.
Like what?
Well, I couldn't get into the... I've really buried the lead on this one.
You did.
I couldn't get into the theater.
What you didn't have a screenshot of your ticket?
No. I have the AMC app, so none of that shit happens.
All right.
Hey, even when I don't know why I'm advertising AMC now, probably because of the story I'm about to tell. But I once went when the whole system was down, and they still gave me all my Stubs benefits. So kudos to the staff at
all right.
AMC, for figuring it out. I couldn't get in because there was this couple arguing in the doorway of the theater. And I had to actually say,
excuse me.
No, I had to I was trying to avoid doing that because, you know, in my head it's like
they're having a
in
moment.
my head I assume everyone else knows they're blocking my way.
Right.
And the opposite
Yes.
is always true.
Yes.
People do not go around with the consciousness that they are blocking my way of getting into places.
Yes.
I have that consciousness for everyone else. No one has it for me. And so I had to say, but literally, as I was trying to get through, what the guy was saying to the woman, you know, if you'd have done this to me as a younger man, I would have just walked straight out on you. Oh God, I just want to, I just want to get inside and see this movie that will no doubt be terrible because of this omen.
Yeah.
That is guaranteed to be terrible because God hates me.
If you could just move to the left, I might be able to at least enjoy my popcorn and Reese's.
Yeah. So, you know, I had a sort of generally
that's terrible.
eerie feeling going in there that all was not well.
Understood.
And that's right. And I spilled 1/3 of my large popcorn when I sat down. So I put it on the seat next to me, which was empty, but I didn't know it was going to stay empty. And I don't know what happened, but I must have knocked it, and I was like, you know, literally a sea of popcorn went on that seat. But I also pre-buttered the popcorn. So that was where all the butter was, because I hadn't shook it yet. So it was like, and I you know, I scooped up all the, thinking, I don't know, someone might be next to me. I scooped up all the popcorn, and it was this greasy layer of butter on the seat. And I didn't have, like, I used all my napkins. I was like, this is just gonna be, someone's just gonna...
You're the person that ruins my show, the next showing.
Yeah, I was like, someone's gonna have to sit in butter because of me. But it's like, I don't know if it was just because of my level of anxiety, but it was like a freak knock that would never happen on any other
That's amazing.
film-going occasion. So there you go.
All right. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The Halloween series is wrapped.
For now.
You're going to have to, for now, for right now, we're in the clear. No promises. You're going to have to tell us what you think. How do you rank the entire series? Find us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter to let us know. Send us an email to everythingsequel@gmail.com to let your voice be heard. For Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions, Michael Shantz here of the How Dare You Awards. When you hear us next time, we won't be talking about Halloween. We'll be talking about something else, and I think you might be pleased.
I think you might be pleased.
Say goodbye to the good people, Tom.
You shouldn't let that guy talk to you like that. He's going to make you sad, even if you don't think it does.
That is razor sharp dialogue.
It's not even grammatically correct.
I know. All right, everyone. That's it. We're calling it quits for now on Halloween. Wait for, you'll hear us next time or next year for Friday the 13th.
All right, let's say, we're saying it out loud.
It's a date.
It's a date. Hey, more quality Friday the 13th fun's coming your way.
If you like podcasts like I do, boy, do I have a treat for you. You need to
stay on target
and check out the Sounds in Cinema podcast. Listen as your host, sound designer and music creator Tony Parham, and co-host, musical performer and sound lover Derek Hansen, D-Rock if you're nasty, and I am, discuss all things sound related to film, television, stage, and theatrical productions. They discuss environmental sounds, bioacoustics, dialogue, the nature of communication through sound, but as an added bonus, they drink beer and try to
stay on target.
Find them wherever you get your podcasts and listen to the pure mania of a man who can charitably be described as Doug, the dog from Up, and another man with a soothing and sultry voice trying to get that man to
stay on target.
That's the Sounds in Cinema podcast. Tune in and listen to the sounds they are creating just for you.